But a single blunder ignited war that day. Humans revealed their true power. Part. The stars looked peaceful through the observation window of the Meridian Dawn. Captain Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes and checked the navigation panel again. They were supposed to reach the Coalition trade station in 6 hours. It was a simple courier run, nothing special, just delivering medical supplies and diplomatic documents like they had done 100 times before. "Captain, we have a problem," said Junior Officer Marcus Webb. His voice cracked with worry. He was young, only 23, and this was his first long-range mission. Sarah moved to his station. The screen showed red warning symbols everywhere. "What happened?" "The navigation computer is glitching. We're drifting toward an asteroid field." Marcus's hands shook as he tried to correct their course. "I can't get manual control to respond." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. The asteroid field was near Varex space. The Varex were a warrior species, proud and aggressive. They did not like anyone coming close to their borders without permission. Everyone in the galaxy knew this simple rule. "Stay away from Varex territory." "How long until we hit the field?" Sarah asked. "Maybe 10 minutes. Sarah made a quick decision. "Use the emergency beacon. Maybe someone nearby can help us." Marcus nodded and reached for the controls. His fingers moved fast, too fast. In his panic, he pressed the wrong button sequence. Instead of sending a standard distress signal, he activated a military-grade encrypted beacon. It was the kind of signal that warships used when they were hiding and needed to contact their fleet secretly. The beacon sent its signal into space. Sarah did not notice the mistake. Neither did Marcus. They were too busy trying to avoid the asteroids. 30,000 kilometers away, a Varex patrol ship detected the signal. Commander Zalthar studied the readings with his 4 eyes narrowing in suspicion. An encrypted military signal this close to their borders? And coming from what appeared to be a simple human cargo ship? "Scan that vessel," Zalthar ordered.
Full spectrum analysis. The scan came back strange.
The human ship's hull was made from materials that partially blocked their sensors. It was not military-grade armor, just the standard radiation shielding that all cargo ships used. But the Varex computer interpreted it as stealth technology. Zalthar's mandibles clicked together in anger. "A spy ship. The humans think they can deceive the Varex Imperium? Commander, should we hail them first?" asked a junior officer. "No," Zalthar said. "Spies do not deserve warnings." The Meridian Dawn finally cleared the asteroid field. Sarah let out a breath of relief. "Good job, Marcus." "That was close," Marcus smiled weakly. "I thought we were going to— Oh." The explosion cut him off. The Varex patrol ship fired a plasma torpedo without warning. It hit the Meridian Dawn's engine core directly. The ship broke apart in seconds. 47 humans died instantly, scattered into the cold vacuum of space. Commander Zalthar watched the debris field on his screen. "Report this to High Command. We have eliminated a human spy vessel attempting to probe our defenses." The news reached Earth 12 hours later. The Galactic Coalition Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Hall on the neutral station, called Unity Point. Humans had been members of the Coalition for 30 years. They were classified as a Tier 3 species, which meant they could trade and share culture. But they had no military voice in galactic affairs. Ambassador James Rodriguez stood before the council. His face was calm, but his hands gripped the podium tightly. The Meridian Dawn was a civilian vessel on a routine courier mission. 47 innocent people are dead. We demand an explanation from the Varex Imperium. The Varex representative, a massive warrior named Krathax, stood up. His armor gleamed under the council chamber lights. "Your ship used military encryption near our borders. It possessed stealth capabilities. This was clearly a spy operation." "That's insane," James said. "We don't have spy ships. We don't have a military fleet at all." "Everyone knows this." Krathax's voice boomed across the chamber. "Then explain the encrypted signal. Explain why your ship could not be fully scanned." James looked confused. "There must be some mistake. A malfunction, perhaps, The Varex Imperium does not make mistakes," Krathax interrupted. "Your species has been deceiving the Council. You pretend to be peaceful while building secret military forces. We have exposed your deception." The other species in the Council began whispering among themselves. Some looked at the human ambassador with suspicion. Others seemed worried about getting involved in a conflict between humans and the powerful Varex. The council chairman, a floating jellyfish-like being called an Aquari, spoke in his gentle voice. This is a serious accusation. However, the evidence is unclear. Perhaps both sides should investigate further before. No, Krithak said firmly. The humans must admit their deception immediately. They have 72 hours to confess and surrender their hidden military forces for inspection. If they refuse, the Varex Imperium will consider it an act of war. We will do what is necessary to protect ourselves. The council chamber erupted in worried conversations. Many species believed that humans would surrender. What else could they do? The Varex had one of the largest military forces in the galaxy. Humans, as far as anyone knew, had nothing. James Rodriguez felt his blood turn cold. This was spiraling out of control so fast. A simple navigation accident and a panicked button press had created a crisis that could destroy everything humanity had built in the galaxy. I need to contact Earth immediately, James said quietly. The message reached Earth's capital, Geneva, within the hour. The World Council went into emergency session. Every major leader gathered in the secured chamber deep beneath the city. The room was silent as they watched the recording of the coalition meeting. President Maria Santos of Earth spoke first. 47 of our people are dead, murdered without warning, and now they threaten us with war unless we confess to something we did not do. What are our options? Asked the Chinese premier. The American president leaned forward. We could apologize. Explain it was an accident. Most of the council seems reasonable. No, said the Russian premier firmly. If we surrender now, we will be victims forever. Every species will think they can push us around. But we cannot fight the Varex, argued the Indian president. We are not classified as a military power. We have no fleet to tow. General Thomas Wright, the head of Earth's Unified Defense Command, cleared his throat. Everyone turned to look at him. Madam President, that is not entirely accurate. President Santos raised an eyebrow. General, we need to discuss the Terran Accords. Article 7 specifically. The room went very quiet. Everyone at this table knew about Article 7. It was Earth's deepest secret, hidden from the galaxy for 3 decades. Are you suggesting what I think you are suggesting? President Santos asked slowly. General Wright nodded. 47 people are dead. The Varex think we are weak. Maybe it is time to show them they are wrong. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. Earth would not apologize for something they did not do. Earth would make the Varex understand that murdering humans had consequences. Ambassador Rodriguez received his instructions 6 hours later. His hands trembled slightly as he read the message. This would change everything. The galaxy thought they knew humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The 72-hour deadline was approaching. The entire galaxy watched and waited to see what the primitive humans would do. They were all about to find out. The Galactic Coalition Council chamber was packed. Every species had sent representatives. Some were there in person. Others appeared as holograms from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to witness this moment. The humans were about to respond to the Varex ultimatum. Ambassador James Rodriguez walked to the center of the chamber. He carried a small data pad, nothing else. His face was calm, too calm. Some of the alien observers found this disturbing. They expected fear, desperation, perhaps tears. Instead, the human looked like someone who had made peace with a difficult decision. Members of the Galactic Coalition, James began, his voice steady and clear. 3 days ago, the Varex Imperium destroyed the Meridian Dawn without warning. 47 civilians died, scientists, doctors, engineers, and their families. They were murdered. Krithak, the Varex representative, stood up. They were spies caught. Sit down, James said quietly. The cold tone in his voice made several species shift uncomfortably. I am not finished. Surprisingly, Krithak sat. Something in the human's eyes warned him not to push further. James continued. You gave us 72 hours to confess to deception and surrender military forces you claim we have hidden. Here is Earth's response. He touched the datapad. His words appeared in every language simultaneously on screens throughout the chamber. The message was short and simple. Earth does not apologize for defending a civilian vessel that never posed a threat. Earth does not confess to crimes we did not commit. The Meridian Dawn carried no weapons, no spies, no military technology. Our people died because of a navigation malfunction and your paranoia. The council chamber buzzed with whispers. This was not going as anyone expected. James looked directly at Krathak. However, you have forced us to reveal something we hope to keep private. When humanity joined this coalition 30 years ago, we signed the Terran Accords. We agreed to classify ourselves as a non-military species. We promised not to bring weapons of war into coalition space. We kept that promise. Then you admit you have no military, Krathak said, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. You admit you are defenseless. James smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I said we kept our promise not to bring weapons into coalition space. I did not say we were defenseless. The whispers stopped. The entire chamber went silent. For 30 years, humanity has maintained a defensive fleet in our own territory, far from coalition borders. We followed the letter of the Accords perfectly. We never lied. We simply never mentioned what we kept in reserve. Impossible, said the Zephyron ambassador, a bird-like creature with blue feathers. We have conducted dozens of surveys of human space. We detected no military infrastructure. You detected what we wanted you to detect, James replied. Humans learned a long time ago how to hide things from sensors. We fought 3 world wars before we united as one species. We learned many hard lessons. One lesson was this: hope for peace but prepare for war. The council chairman floated forward, his translucent body pulsing with concern. Ambassador Rodriguez, are you saying humanity has been deceiving this council for 3 decades? No, Chairman. We followed every rule precisely. The Accord said no military presence in coalition space. Our fleet never entered coalition space. The Accord said we must register as a non-military species. We did, because we chose not to participate in galactic conflicts. But nowhere in the Accords does it say we cannot defend our own territory and our own people. James turned back to Krathak. You murdered 47 innocent humans. You claim it was justified. You give us ultimatums and threaten war. Very well. Earth offers you one chance. Apologize formally. Pay reparations to the families of the dead. Do this within 48 hours and we will forgive this incident. Krathak laughed. It was a harsh grating sound. Forgive? You presume to threaten the Varex Imperium? We have 3,000 warships. We have conquered a dozen species. What do you have, human? A few hidden cargo ships with weapons bolted on? James's expression did not change. If you do not apologize within 48 hours, Earth will consider itself at war with the Varex Imperium. We will defend ourselves with whatever means necessary. That is not a threat. It is a promise. You are insane, Krathak said. You would fight us? You would throw away your species' future over an accident? It was not an accident. It was murder. And humanity does not forget when our people are killed without cause. James gathered his datapad and turned to leave. 48 hours. Choose wisely. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and discussed what had just happened. Most thought the humans were bluffing. Some thought they were brave but foolish. A few older species, ones that had existed for thousands of years, watched with worry. They had seen this pattern before in their own histories. A peaceful species pushed too far could become the most dangerous enemy. On the Varex homeworld, High Command gathered in their war chamber. Krathak reported directly to Supreme Commander Vexral, a scarred veteran of 100 battles. What do we know about human military capabilities? Vexral asked. Very little, Commander. Our intelligence suggests they fought wars among themselves centuries ago, but they have been peaceful since unification. They have no warships registered with the Coalition, no weapons of mass destruction, no battle stations. And yet their ambassador spoke with confidence. Krathak's mandibles clicked in dismissal. Pride, nothing more. They are bluffing to save face. Vexral was not so sure, but the Varex culture did not allow for showing weakness. If we apologize now, every minor species in the galaxy will think they can threaten us. We cannot allow that. What are your orders, Commander? Vexral stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. We will teach humanity their place. Assemble the 6th Fleet, 3,000 warships. We will jump into human territory and position ourselves near their homeworld. When they see our might, they will surrender immediately. And if they do not surrender, then we will show the galaxy what happens to species that challenge the Varex Imperium. The 48 hours passed. Earth did not receive an apology. Instead, Varex warships began gathering at the edge of their territory. Sensors across the galaxy tracked their movements. This was becoming the most watched military deployment in modern history. On Earth, President Santos stood in the command center deep beneath Geneva. Screens showed the approaching Varex fleet. 3,000 ships, each one massive and powerful. Around her stood the leaders of Earth's military branches. They will reach our outer colonies in 6 hours, reported General Wright. Their fleet composition is standard Varex. Heavy cruisers, battle carriers, and destroyer screens. Classic hammer formation. What are our orders, Madam President? Asked Admiral Chen, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. President Santos looked at the screens for a long moment. 3,000 enemy warships. She thought about the 47 people who died on the Meridian Dawn. She thought about her own grandchildren, playing on Earth's surface unaware of the danger approaching their home. General Wright, activate Protocol Black, contact all fleet commanders. Tell them the gloves are off. Yes, Madam President. Admiral Chen, take command. Show them what humanity has been hiding. Admiral Chen saluted. It will be my honor. Across human space, things began to happen. Space stations that appeared to be simple research facilities suddenly opened hidden bays. Asteroids that had been mined for centuries revealed themselves as hollowed-out military outposts. Satellites that had orbited for decades activated weapon systems that defied known physics. And in the dark spaces between stars, thousands of ships powered up their engines. They had been waiting there for 30 years, hidden, silent, patient. Their crews had trained continuously, preparing for a war they hoped would never come. Generations of soldiers had served in secret, protecting humanity without glory or recognition. Now their time had come. The Varex fleet entered human territory confidently. They detected human colonies ahead, poorly defended outposts that would fall easily. Vexrel smiled in his command chair. This would be over quickly. Commander, we are detecting unusual readings, said a sensor officer. What kind of readings? I am not sure. The space around us is showing strange energy signatures. Almost like a... The sensor screen exploded with contacts. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Ships appeared from nowhere, decloaking simultaneously in a coordinated display of force. The Terran Defense Fleet had arrived, and they were not here to negotiate. Vexrel stared at the screen in disbelief. Where did they come from? How is this possible? The human admiral's face appeared on the communication screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and calm eyes. Varex fleet, this is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered human territory with hostile intent. You have refused to apologize for murdering our civilians. This is your final warning. Turn back now or face the consequences. Vexrel's shock turned to anger. You dare threaten us? You are outnumbered. Admiral Chen smiled sadly. Count again, the Varex sensors updated. The number of human ships kept climbing. 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, 12,000 vessels of various sizes, all armed already. Impossible, Vexrel whispered. I will give you 60 seconds to withdraw, Admiral Chen said. After that, we open fire. Humanity did not want this war. But since you have brought it to us, we will show you exactly what we are capable of. The countdown began. Across the galaxy, everyone watched and held their breath. The peaceful humans, the species that had avoided all conflicts for 30 years, were about to go to war, and they were ready. The 60 seconds felt like an eternity. Supreme Commander Vexrel stared at the tactical display, his mind racing. 12,000 human warships surrounded his fleet. This should not be possible. The intelligence report said humans had no military. Every survey, every scan, every diplomatic interaction had shown them to be weak. 20 seconds. Admiral Chen's voice came through calmly. I suggest you make your decision quickly, Commander. Vexrel's pride would not let him retreat. The Varex had never backed down from a fight. If he withdrew now without firing a single shot, he would be disgraced. His ancestors would curse his name. All ships, battle formation, he ordered. Prepare to engage. 10 seconds, Admiral Chen counted. The Varex fleet shifted into their classic hammer formation. Heavy cruisers at the center, destroyers spreading into a screen, carriers launching fighter craft. It was a formation that had won 100 battles across a dozen star systems. Admiral Chen sighed. She had hoped they would be reasonable. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all ships weapons free. Execute Protocol Phantom. What happened next became legendary across the galaxy. The human fleet did not charge forward like the Varex expected. Instead, half of them simply vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. Their sensor signatures disappeared completely. The Varex tracking systems went crazy trying to reacquire targets that were no longer there. "Where did they go?" Vexerol shouted. "Commander, they are using some kind of advanced stealth technology. Our sensors cannot penetrate it." Then the attack began. Human ships appeared from nowhere, fired and disappeared again before the Varex could return fire. They moved in patterns that defied normal physics. Sharp turns at speeds that should have torn the ships apart. Sudden stops and accelerations that ignored everything the galaxy knew about inertial dampening. A human destroyer materialized directly behind a Varex cruiser, fired 3 missiles into the engine core, and vanished before the explosion even registered on sensors. The cruiser broke apart, spilling atmosphere and crew into space. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The human ships were smaller, faster, and used tactics the Varex had never encountered. They did not fight with honor or in straight lines. They fought like hunters stalking prey, appearing and disappearing, striking weak points, coordinating perfectly. "They are hacking our systems," reported a Varex technical officer in panic. "Our targeting computers are showing false readings. Our communications are being jammed. Even our life support is flickering." A human voice suddenly broadcast across all Varex channels. It was not Admiral Chen this time. It was a younger voice, almost cheerful. "Hello, Varex fleet. This is Lieutenant Morrison of the Terran Cyber Warfare Division. Just wanted to let you know that we have complete control of your computer network. Your shields are about to experience technical difficulties. Have a nice day." Simultaneously, the shields on 200 Varex ships flickered and died. Human missiles found their targets immediately. Explosions lit up the darkness of space like deadly fireworks. Vexerol watched in horror as his fleet fell apart around him. This was not battle. This was a massacre. "Retreat!" All ships jumped to hyperspace immediately, but when they tried to activate their jump drives, nothing happened. The drives were locked out by the human hackers. Admiral Chen's face appeared on screen again. "I am sorry, Commander, but you cannot leave yet. You came here to fight, so fight." The battle continued for 6 hours. The humans used weapons the galaxy had never seen before, missiles that split into 100 smaller missiles, energy beams that bent around obstacles, mines that looked like asteroids until someone got too close, and, strangest of all, psychological warfare. Human ships broadcast messages designed to terrify the Varex crews. They played recordings of Varex distress calls. They showed calculations of how quickly each ship would be destroyed. They sent personal messages to individual Varex warriors, calling them by name, telling them details about their families back home. It was designed to create fear and confusion, and it worked perfectly. A Varex destroyer captain named Korval found himself paralyzed by indecision when a human ship broadcast his children's names and showed him real-time footage of his home city. How do they know this? How is this possible? He hesitated for just 3 seconds. That was enough. Human missiles destroyed his ship, killing him and everyone aboard. On Earth, the World Council watched the battle through military satellites. President Santos felt sick to her stomach. She had authorized this. She had unleashed this horror. But when she thought about the 47 civilians murdered without warning, her resolve hardened. The Varex had started this. Humanity was finishing it. "Casualty report?" she asked quietly. General Wright consulted his data pad. "Human losses, 7 ships destroyed, 15 damaged. Varex losses, 1,800 ships destroyed, 900 heavily damaged. The rest scattered and trying to retreat. That is a 60% loss rate for them in 6 hours," President Santos said. "How is that possible?" "We trained for this, Madam President. Every soldier in our fleet has spent years studying Varex tactics. We know their weaknesses, their patterns, their psychology. Plus, we have technological advantages they did not expect." On the Galactic Coalition station, species representatives watched the same battle footage in stunned silence. The peaceful humans were destroying one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces, and they were doing it with an efficiency that terrified everyone watching. The Zephyron ambassador turned to his Aquari colleague. "Did you see that maneuver?" The human cruiser moved in 3 different directions simultaneously. That should violate basic physics. "Perhaps our understanding of physics is not as complete as we thought," the Aquari replied quietly. The small species, the ones that had always feared the Varex, watched with different emotions. Hope, excitement, relief. If humans could stand up to the Varex, maybe others could too. The Battle of Proxima Station, as it would later be called, ended when the remaining Varex ships finally managed to break through the human jamming and jump to hyperspace. They fled in disorder, leaving behind debris, bodies, and their reputation for invincibility. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the TDF Relentless, and watched the enemy retreat. Her crew celebrated around her, but she felt no joy. Too many people on both sides had died today. War was not glorious, no matter how decisively you won. Send a message to all human colonies, she ordered. The Varex fleet has been repelled. Our territory is secure, but remain vigilant. This may not be over, she was right. Across the galaxy, the reaction to the battle was immediate and intense. Every major species called emergency councils. Every military force began reassessing their understanding of human capabilities. Every diplomat started calculating what this meant for the balance of power. On the Varex homeworld, Supreme Commander Vexral knelt before the Imperial Council. He had returned with less than 40% of his fleet. The great Varex warriors, the conquerors of worlds, had been humiliated by a species they thought was weak. You told us they had no military, accused Council Elder Morgath. His voice cold with fury. They did not, according to all our intelligence. They had 12,000 warships. They destroyed our 6th fleet in 6 hours. And you say they had no military? Vexral had no answer. He awaited his execution, as tradition demanded for commanders who failed so completely. But the execution did not come. Instead, the eldest member of the council, Ancient Kelron, spoke. He was over 200 years old, rare for a Varex. We have made a terrible mistake. We have awoken something that should have remained sleeping. What do you mean, Ancient One? Asked Morgath. I studied human history when they joined the Coalition 30 years ago. Most of you dismissed them as primitive, but I looked deeper. Do you know how they unified their species? The council waited silently. They fought 3 global wars. Billions died. They developed weapons that could destroy their entire planet multiple times over. And then somehow they chose peace. They put aside their weapons and joined the galactic community as a non-military species. So they lied, Morgath said. No, they chose restraint. There is a difference. They had the power to be conquerors, but they decided to be traitors instead. Do you understand what that means? It means they are dangerous not despite their peaceful nature, but because of it. They chose peace when they could have chosen war. Now we have forced them to choose war again. The council chamber fell silent. For the first time in Varex history, they were afraid. Kelron continued. Humanity has a phrase in their ancient languages. Beware the fury of a patient person. We murdered their civilians. We threatened their home. We mocked their warnings. And now we have learned that the quiet neighbor in the galaxy has teeth, very sharp teeth. What do we do? Asked Vexral quietly. We hope they are merciful, Kelron replied. Because if they are not, the Varex Imperium may not survive what comes next. Back on Earth, President Santos addressed the world from Geneva. Cameras broadcast her speech to billions of humans across dozens of colonies. Her face was tired but determined. Tonight, humanity showed the galaxy that we are not victims. We defended ourselves against aggression. We protected our people. But let me be clear, we do not celebrate war. Every life lost today, human or Varex, is a tragedy. We hope the Varex Empire will now recognize their mistake and seek peace. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. However, if they choose to continue this conflict, we are ready. Humanity spent 3 decades preparing for a war we hoped would never come. We hid our strength not out of deception, but out of hope. Hope that we could live peacefully among the stars. The Varex have taken that hope from us, but they have not taken our resolve. The camera zoomed closer. To every species watching tonight, humanity offers friendship to all who want it. We are still the same people who have traded peacefully with you for 30 years, but we are also warriors when we need to be. Remember both truths about us. The broadcast ended. The galaxy had changed forever. The peaceful humans had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous species anyone had encountered in centuries. And the scariest part was that they had only just begun to show what they could do. The war was not over. It was only beginning. 3 weeks after the Battle of Proxima Station, the Galactic Coalition held an emergency session. Ambassador James Rodriguez stood once again before the council, but the atmosphere was completely different now. Species that had ignored humanity for decades now hung on his every word. Some looked at him with respect, others with fear. Ambassador Rodriguez, the council chairman said carefully, we have received reports that human military forces have crossed into Varex territory. Can you confirm this? James nodded. Yes, Chairman. After the Varex refused to respond to our peace offers and began mobilizing additional fleets, Earth decided that defense was not enough. We are taking the war to them. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Krathak, the Varex representative, stood up, his mandibles clicking furiously. This is an act of aggression. The coalition must condemn this invasion immediately. Invasion? James turned to face him. You invaded our territory. You murdered our people. You tried to destroy our colonies. Now you complain when we fight back? The Varex Imperium has stood for 3,000 years. We will not be intimidated by Your empire is crumbling, James said flatly. In the past 3 weeks, we have captured 17 of your military outposts, liberated 4 species you had enslaved, and established blockades around 6 of your major industrial worlds. Your economy is collapsing. Your military is in retreat. And this is just the beginning. The council chairman pulsed with distress. Ambassador, surely a diplomatic solution. We tried diplomacy, James interrupted. The Varex responded with violence. They had many chances to choose peace. They chose war. Now they are learning what human warfare really looks like. Across the galaxy, that lesson was being taught in brutal detail. The Varex had never encountered an enemy like humanity. Human soldiers fought in ways that made no sense to them. They did not simply attack military targets. They systematically destroyed everything that supported the Varex war effort. On the industrial world of Vex Prime, human marines landed in the middle of the night. They were not like the soldiers the Varex knew. Human soldiers were smaller than Varex warriors, but they moved faster, thought faster, and fought with a terrifying coordination. Captain Maria Torres led her squad through the weapons factory with perfect precision. They had studied the layout for weeks, knew every corridor, every guard rotation, every weak point in the facility's defenses. Charges set in the main reactor, reported Sergeant Kim over the comm. We have 5 minutes. Copy that, Maria replied. All squads fall back to extraction point. A Varex guard spotted them in the hallway. He raised his weapon, but Maria was faster. Her shot hit him before he could fire. 2 more guards came around the corner. Maria's squad moved like water, flowing around obstacles, each member knowing exactly where the others were, covering every angle. The guards fell in seconds. They fight like pack hunters, one wounded Varex guard gasped into his radio before losing consciousness. This description would spread throughout the Varex military, and it was accurate. Humans were one of the only species in the galaxy that evolved from persistence predators. They were built to chase, to track, to hunt in coordinated groups. The factory exploded behind Maria's squad as their transport lifted off. Another piece of Varex military infrastructure gone. They would hit 3 more targets tonight before returning to their ship. This pattern repeated across Varex territory. Human forces did not occupy planets. They struck fast, destroyed specific targets, and disappeared. They attacked supply lines, communication hubs, fuel depots, and food distribution centers. They made it impossible for the Varex military to function. But the ground war was only part of the story. In space, humanity demonstrated even more frightening capabilities. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the TDF Relentless, observing the Varex home system on her screens. 3 massive defense stations orbited the planet, each one supposedly impregnable. Behind them, the remaining Varex fleet are about 4,000 ships, waited in defensive formation. They think those stations will protect them, said her tactical officer. Commander Park, they are wrong, Admiral Chen replied. Begin Operation Ragnarok, Phase 1. Across human space, something unprecedented happened. Scientists who had been working in secret for 3 decades activated a device that most humans did not even know existed. It was called a stellar disruption weapon, and it represented the darkest side of human ingenuity. The device sent a precisely calibrated gravitational pulse through subspace, aimed at the star at the center of the Varex home system. The star flickered, just for a moment, just enough to notice. Every sensor in the system detected the fluctuation. On the Varex homeworld, panic spread. The government tried to control the information, but everyone had seen it. Their sun had flickered. Ancient Kelron, who had warned the council about humanity, stood on his balcony watching the sky with sad eyes. He knew what this meant. Admiral Chen broadcast a message to the Varex fleet and the entire galaxy. Her face appeared on every screen, every communication device, every public display from one side of galactic space to the other. People of the Varex Imperium, this is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. What you just witnessed was a demonstration. Our scientists have developed a weapon capable of destabilizing a star. We have never used it, and we hoped we would never need to. But you have forced our hand. She paused, letting the words sink in. We do not want to destroy your homeworld. We do not want to kill billions of innocent civilians. But understand this clearly, we can. If you force humanity to choose between our survival and yours, we will choose ourselves. Every single time. The Varex defenders stared at their screens in horror. A weapon that could destroy stars? This was beyond anything they had imagined. This was beyond anything the galaxy had imagined. Admiral Chen continued. However, we are not monsters. We are offering you one last chance. Surrender now. Open peace negotiations. Accept responsibility for your actions. Do this and your star remains stable. Your people live. Your civilization continues. Refuse and we will do what is necessary to end this threat permanently. She leaned closer to the camera, her expression hardening. Humanity did not want this war. We wanted to trade with you, to share knowledge, to coexist peacefully. You murdered our people. You threatened our home. You laughed at our warnings. Now you are learning the truth about us. We are not cruel, but we are absolutely ruthless when our survival is threatened. On the Galactic Coalition station, ambassadors from every species watched in stunned silence. Some were horrified by the threat. Others were calculating how this changed everything they knew about galactic politics. The Zephyron ambassador turned to his colleagues. Do you think they are bluffing? Could they really destroy a star? The Aquari chairman pulsed thoughtfully. Humans split the atom and created nuclear weapons within 40 years of discovering atomic theory. They went from the first powered flight to landing on their moon in 66 years. They do not bluff about technology. If they say they can destroy a star, I believe them. A small species representative, a being that looked like a furry rodent, spoke up quietly. I think I understand humans now. They are not violent by nature, but they are survivors. They will do absolutely anything to protect their families. Anything. This observation cut to the heart of human psychology. Humans could be incredibly kind, generous, and cooperative, but threaten their loved ones and they became something else entirely. The Varex had threatened not just human soldiers, but human families. They had made this personal. That was their biggest mistake. On the Varex homeworld, the Imperial Council convened an emergency session. The room was tense. Some members wanted to fight to the last warrior. Others recognized that fighting was suicide. Supreme Commander Vexral, who had survived his earlier failure, stood before them. I have analyzed human combat doctrine extensively over the past 3 weeks. I have something difficult to report. Speak, ordered Elder Morgath. Humans have been holding back. In every engagement, they use minimum necessary force. They could have destroyed our fleets completely at Proxima Station, but they let ships retreat. They could have killed every Varex in the facilities they attacked, but they only targeted those who fought back. They are showing restraint. Restraint? Morgath looked skeptical. They just threatened to destroy our sun. Yes, but they did not do it. They demonstrated they could, then offered peace. This is their final warning. If we continue fighting, I believe they will follow through. And there is something else. What? Vexral brought up a recording from a human communications intercept. It showed human soldiers after a battle, treating wounded Varex prisoners, giving them medical care, sharing their food. One human medic was crying as she worked to save a dying Varex warrior. They grieve for their enemies, Vexral said quietly. Even as they kill us, they grieve for us. I have never seen this in any species. They hate what they must do, but they do it anyway. This is not a species that enjoys war. This is a species that has mastered war while hating it. The council sat in silence, watching the recording, the human medic's tears as she failed to save the warrior. The anger and sadness on her face. Ancient Kelron spoke. There is a human saying I learned. We fight not because we hate what is in front of us, but because we love what is behind us. They are fighting to protect their families, their home, their future. That kind of motivation makes them unstoppable. Elder Morgath looked at his fellow council members. For the first time in 3,000 years of Varex history, they faced a choice between pride and survival. What do you recommend, Ancient One? He asked Kelron. We surrender. We negotiate. We accept whatever terms they offer. Because if we do not, the Varex Imperium ends. Not in glory, not in battle, but in the death of our star and every soul in this system. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The Varex would ask for peace. Admiral Chen received the message 3 hours later. She read it carefully, then looked at Commander Park. They are asking for peace negotiations. They are willing to accept our terms. Will we accept? Park asked. That is not my decision. But yes, I think we will. Humanity does not want to be conquerors. We just want to be safe. She thought about the 47 people who died on the Meridian Dawn. This war had started with their deaths. How many more had died since then? Thousands? Tens of thousands? All because of a simple misunderstanding and a species too proud to admit a mistake. Send a message to Earth, Admiral Chen ordered. The Varex are ready to talk. Recommend we accept and begin negotiations immediately. The war was not over yet, but the end was in sight. Humanity had proven their point. They were not victims. They were not weak. They were survivors who would do absolutely anything to protect their own. The galaxy would never forget this lesson. The Peace Summit was held on Unity Point, the neutral galactic coalition station. Every major species sent representatives. Some came to witness history. Others came to make sure the terms of peace were fair. A few came simply because they wanted to see the Varex brought low. Ambassador James Rodriguez led the human delegation. Across from him sat ancient Kelron, representing the Varex Imperium. The old warrior looked tired. His mandibles drooped and his eyes had lost their fierce glow. War had aged him decades in just a few weeks. Before we begin formal negotiations, James said, I want to make something clear. Earth did not want this war. We tried every peaceful option. You forced this on us. Kelron nodded slowly. I know, my people were arrogant. We thought we understood the galaxy and our place in it. You taught us we were wrong. Many died on both sides. Too many. Can we agree that this must not happen again? That is my hope, Ambassador Rodriguez. It is why I am here instead of younger, more aggressive voices. I am old enough to value peace over pride. The negotiations took 3 days. Earth's terms were surprisingly reasonable, which shocked many observers. The humans were not interested in conquest or revenge. They wanted specific things and they were clear about them. President Santos addressed the summit via hologram. The Terran Accords are dissolved. Earth will no longer hide our military capabilities. We are reclassifying ourselves as a Tier 1 military species with full voting rights in coalition military matters. No one objected. After what they had seen, no one would dare. Second, the Varex Imperium will pay reparations to the families of the 47 civilians killed on the Meridian Dawn. The amount has been calculated and agreed upon. Additionally, the Varex will issue a formal public apology acknowledging their error. Kelron stood. This part was painful for him, but necessary. On behalf of the Varex Imperium, I formally apologize for the destruction of the Meridian Dawn and the loss of 47 innocent lives. We acted out of paranoia and pride. We were wrong. The blood of your people stains our honor and we accept full responsibility. The chamber was silent. Many species had never heard a Varex apologize before. It was historic. President Santos continued. Third, the Varex Imperium will undergo reformation. The species you have conquered and enslaved will be freed. You will transition from an aggressive military empire to a defensive force. Earth will provide advisors to help with this transition. This was the hardest term for the Varex to accept, but they had no choice. Their military was shattered. Their economy was collapsing. They needed help to survive, even if it came from their enemies. Fourth and most important, Earth is establishing the Terran Peacekeeping Force. Any species that feels threatened by a larger military power can request human protection. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. This announcement sent ripples through the galaxy. Smaller species looked hopeful. Larger military powers looked worried. The balance of galactic power had shifted permanently. The chairman of the Galactic Coalition pulsed thoughtfully. Ambassador Rodriguez, is Earth positioning itself as the galaxy's military hegemon? James shook his head. No, Chairman. We are positioning ourselves as a deterrent. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just want to make sure no one else rules it through fear and violence. There is a difference. And if a species disagrees with your peacekeeping decisions, then they can bring their concerns to this council, and we will discuss them like civilized beings. Earth respects the Coalition's authority. We are not acting outside it, we are expanding our role within it. The vote to accept Earth's terms was overwhelming. Only a few hardline military species abstained, and none voted against it. The galaxy had a new order and humanity stood at its center. 6 months passed. The changes were remarkable. On the Varex homeworld, the reformation was painful but necessary. Supreme Commander Vexral worked alongside human military advisors to restructure the Varex forces from an offensive army to a defensive fleet. Many warriors resisted. Some attempted coups. But slowly, with human help, the Varex began to change. Captain Maria Torres, the Marine who had led raids during the war, now taught Varex soldiers new tactics. Her students were hostile at first, but they learned quickly. One evening, a young Varex warrior named Zekthar approached her after training. "Human, I must ask you something," he said hesitantly. "Go ahead." "How did you learn to fight so effectively? Your species was peaceful for decades." Maria smiled sadly. "We were peaceful, but we remembered. My great-grandmother fought in Earth's Third World War. My grandmother studied military history. My mother trained in combat even during peacetime. We passed down knowledge through generations, hoping we would never need it, but knowing we might. That is the human way. Prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." Zekthar clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "My people only knew how to attack. You taught us that defense can be just as strong. Perhaps stronger." "Exactly. The best warrior is the one who never has to fight. But when they must, they are ready." This philosophy spread throughout the reformed Varex military. They were becoming something new, something better. It would take time, but change was happening. Meanwhile, small species across the galaxy were discovering what human protection meant. The Krelak, a peaceful species of amphibians, had suffered raids from pirates for decades. No one helped them because they were too small, too weak, too unimportant. Then they signed a protection treaty with Earth. When pirates attacked a Krelak colony world, human ships arrived within hours. The battle was short and decisive. The pirates, who had terrorized innocent people for years, were captured and brought to justice. The Krelak celebrated in their cities, something they never thought possible. Ambassador Tisik of the Krelak spoke at the Coalition Council. "For generations, my people lived in fear. The strong took what they wanted from us and no one cared. Now, for the first time, we feel safe. The humans ask nothing from us except that we live in peace. They want no tribute, no territory, no submission. They simply keep their promise to protect us." This story repeated across dozens of worlds. Species that had been bullied and exploited suddenly had a powerful friend. The galactic order was becoming more just, more fair. Not perfect, but better. Of course, not everyone was happy with the changes. Some military powers resented Earth's rise. Some saw humanity as a threat to their own influence, but they were careful with their objections. Everyone remembered what happened when the Varex underestimated humanity. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The Terran Defense Fleet remained active, but most soldiers returned home. Captain Sarah Chen, who had survived the destruction of the Meridian Dawn by being on leave that day, stood at a memorial in Geneva. 47 names were carved into black marble. 47 people whose deaths had changed everything. Engineers, doctors, diplomats, children. They had died in a navigation accident that escalated into war. "I think about them every day," said a voice behind her. She turned to see President Santos, no longer in office but still respected by all. "Me too," Sarah replied. "I was supposed to be on that ship. I switched shifts at the last minute. Survivor's guilt? Something like that. I feel like I should have been there. Like maybe if I had been, things would have gone differently." President Santos put a hand on her shoulder. "Or you would have died with them." "We cannot change the past, Captain. We can only honor it and learn from it." "What did we learn? That peace is precious. That misunderstandings can be deadly. That we must always try diplomacy first, but never be helpless when diplomacy fails." She looked at the memorial. These 47 people did not die in vain. Their deaths woke us up. They reminded us that the galaxy can be dangerous and we must be ready. Sarah nodded. "I just hope it never happens again." "So do I. But if it does, we will be ready." At the Galactic Coalition headquarters, Ambassador James Rodriguez prepared to give a speech. It was the 1-year anniversary of the Meridian Dawn incident. The entire galaxy would be watching. He stood at the podium and looked out at the assembled representatives. So much had changed in 1 year. So many lives lost and saved. So much fear and hope. 1 year ago, James began. A simple mistake escalated into war. A navigation error and a panicked button press led to the deaths of 47 innocent people. The Varex Imperium responded with violence. Earth responded with revelation. We showed the galaxy who we really are. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Some of you feared us after that. Some still fear us now. I understand why. Humanity demonstrated capabilities that shocked everyone. We used weapons and tactics that seemed ruthless. We threatened to destroy a star. We fought a war that many thought we would lose, and we won decisively. The chamber was completely silent. But I want to remind you of something important. Yes, we can fight. Yes, we can destroy. Yes, we have weapons that could end civilizations. But notice what we did with that power. We could have conquered the Varex Imperium. We could have taken their territory, enslaved their people, turned them into a subject species. That is what traditional empires do. That is what the galaxy expected. He let that sink in. Instead, we helped them rebuild. We reformed them into a peaceful society. We freed the species they had conquered. We established protection for the weak. We used our power not to dominate, but to create a more just galaxy. That is who humanity really is. He looked directly at the camera, knowing billions watched. We fight not because we love war, but because we love peace. We develop weapons not because we enjoy destruction, but because we refuse to be victims. We remember not because we seek revenge, but because we honor those we lost. 47 people died that day. Their names are carved in stone on Earth. We will never forget them, and we will make sure their deaths led to something good. The applause started slowly, then built. Even former enemies joined in. The humans had proven themselves in the hardest way possible. They had shown strength and mercy, power and wisdom, justice and compassion. After the speech, James returned to his office. Waiting for him was a surprise visitor, Ancient Kelron of the Varex. Ambassador Rodriguez, I wanted to speak with you privately, the old warrior said. Of course. Please sit. Kelron settled into the specially designed chair. I have been alive for 207 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have witnessed countless wars. But I have never seen anything like what your species did. What do you mean? You had every right to destroy us. We murdered your people. We mocked your warnings. We invaded your territory. Any other species would have ended the Varex Imperium completely. But you did not. Why? James thought carefully about his answer. Because ending you would not bring back the 47 people we lost. Because revenge is empty. Because we believe that even enemies can become friends if given the chance. My great-grandfather fought against the Japanese in World War II. Today, Japan and America are close allies. People can change. Species can change. We wanted to give you that chance. Kelron's eyes glistened. You gave us more than a chance. You gave us a future. My grandchildren will grow up in a better Varex society because of you. I came here to say thank you. Those words seem inadequate, but they are all I have. They are enough, James said. Make sure your people remember this lesson. Strength without wisdom is just violence. True power is knowing when not to use your weapons. We will remember, Kelron promised. The humans taught us what it means to be truly strong. That evening, James stood in his quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled the trade routes. Human soldiers guarded weak species from predators. Human diplomats negotiated peace between rivals. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors. He thought about the 47 people who died on the Meridian Dawn. Scientists who would never complete their research. Doctors who would never heal another patient. Children who would never grow up. Their deaths had been a tragedy that led to revelation. The galaxy now knew the truth about humanity. They were not weak. They were not naive. They were survivors with the capacity for both terrible violence and profound mercy. They offered friendship first, but if you struck that hand, you would find they had another ours, and it was a fist. But more importantly, the galaxy learned that humanity could hold incredible power and still choose peace. That was the real revelation. Not the weapons or the tactics or the victories. It was the choice to use strength wisely, to protect rather than dominate, to reform rather than destroy. A single blunder had ignited war. But humanity had transformed that war into something unexpected. They revealed their true power, and that power was not just military might. It was the wisdom to know that the strongest warrior is the one who fights for peace. The stars shone peacefully through James's window. Somewhere in that vast darkness, 47 spirits rested, knowing that their deaths had changed the galaxy for the better. And humanity, the species that had hidden in the shadows for 30 years, now stood in the light neither conquerors nor victims, but guardians of a new galactic order built on justice, protection, and the hard-won wisdom that peace is worth fighting for. This was humanity's true power revealed at last.